Okay. Good evening, Ronnie. Hi, how are you?
Doing great. Sorry, wasn't connected. Sorry about that. Great to see you, Rabbi.
Likewise. Great to see you, Doctor.
Yes.
I think we have another doctor on, so Dr. Kiner. All right. Everyone's familiar with the experience. It's good to always dream. And many times you're having a dream, and unfortunately, it withers away in front of your eyes. You want something, and unfortunately, it doesn't always happen. You really try to have something in your life, and as time passes, your dreams wither away. Either when you were a child, your parents said that they can't afford it, or as you grow up, you have all kinds of dreams of buying that dream car or that dream job or the dream house and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, life doesn't lead you to your dreams. Either because you can't afford it or because you can't get what you wish. In life, we do not receive everything we want. And by the way, it says that when someone passes on, they've only accomplished a small percentage of what they wished to accomplish during their life. So we learn in life to be realistic and not to expect the world to give you everything. But to be an idealist, maybe that's good because you have hope. Maybe living not realistic, but being an idealistic, maybe will help you live with hope. Now, is there a correct way or a wrong way? Should I live with my dreams or should I live being more practical? If I want to live the right way, which way should I take? Should I walk around dreaming? You know, people that fantasize all the time. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and they don't want to even get a normal job because they're saying that I'm going to be becoming a millionaire soon and I'm cutting some big deals. And people do all kinds of dreams and all kinds of stuff, and they don't end up accomplishing what they've been trying to accomplish. So, like everything in Judaism, so our question for today is, as you see on the slide, should I be realistic or idealistic? Now, just like everything in Judaism, we look at the Torah. Should we follow the reality like it is in front of our eyes? Or there's another approach that one should do. Maybe we should follow a different approach. So here we're going to discuss the Torah portion, text number 1. It says in the Torah portion that the system was that we're supposed to trust judges. We're supposed to have judges. Everything that happens between you and your friends, between you and God, must go in front of judges. You must have a panel of judges. And by the way, even non-Jews have a requirement to have judges in their town or city or country or whatever it is. Many times, the argument could be just finances. You know, two people come and say, you owe me money. Could be husband and wife, childcare, all kinds of things. But many times it's matters of life or death. The Talmud explains that the judges are following God's rule, exactly what Hashem says. Therefore, they're required to make a correct judgment. A Jewish court that doesn't do the correct judgment, not only they're going against humans, but they're actually going against God. Now, considering the tremendous pressure and responsibility that the judges have, the Talmud brings here in text number 2, maybe the judges should say, you know what do I need this headache for? What do I need the responsibility to deal with it? Therefore, the Talmud says, you know what? Don't worry. You will never be able to uncover the absolute truth. You can only uncover the truth that you could see, what you could observe in front of your eyes. Only God could uncover absolute truth. If he was the judge, he would uncover absolute truth. But God says, don't worry, you do the judgment the way you should, in your reality as a human being. Then in the Torah portion, it speaks about witnesses of 2 men. Even though humans could make mistakes, we all know that humans make mistakes all the time. So the Torah comes and tells us that we rely on witnesses even though they're possible to make mistakes. We see here clearly in text number 3, we rely on 2 or 3 witnesses to come to court. So if 2 people come to the court and say, we saw Reuven killing Shimon, if all the witnesses match perfectly, we kill Reuven. Now, the fact that we rely on miracles is not only a divine decree, but as Rabbi Shimon ben Tzemach here in text number 4 explains, that most people don't lie. Most people will tell you the truth. So we can't live in dreams. We have to live in the reality. Most people are going to tell the truth. Okay, of course there are liars and cheaters and people that are dishonest. So in addition to it being a divine decree, it also makes sense to trust people. You know, most people that you encounter are trustworthy. Every once in a while, you'll have a thief that will steal from you or steal in your business and so on and so forth. So it does happen that there's people that are going to hurt you and harm you and steal from you. So in text number 5a, we have a quote from the Maimonides. And the Maimonides says as follows. The Maimonides says, he has a different approach. He says as follows, receiving witnesses is like receiving prophecy. When you listen to a prophet, you don't listen to him because he's performing miracles. You listen to him because God said to listen to the prophet. And the proof to it is that if a false prophet comes and he's telling you, and he makes miracles, he makes your house turn upside down. He makes the greatest miracles. You don't trust him. If he says that God said we should start desecrating Shabbos, or God said we should stop celebrating Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah, even if this prophet performed miracles, we don't listen to him because God said not to listen to him. So we listen to the prophet because Hashem said to listen to the prophet. And the same thing is, the Maimonides says, is with the witnesses. We only listen to witnesses because Hashem said to listen to the witnesses. That's it. really it doesn't make sense. Witnesses could lie. Famous story where two witnesses went over to a woman and they told her, if you don't sin with us, we're going to go to court and say that we caught you lying with a strange man under the tree. And she refused to sin with them, and they went to the court. And they went and said that she was sinning under the tree with a man, with a strange man. And unfortunately, the court case was going really well. And they had all the evidence, and the witnesses matched. And they were about to kill her until somehow they found out the truth, which ultimately witnesses could lie. But the Maimonides says we trust them because God said to trust them, and that's it. That's the only reason. So the Maimonides says we don't accept witnesses because it's logical, but only because God said in the Torah to do that. And we all know there could be falsehood and there could be error. But let's go back to the beginning of the class discussion. The Maimonides takes more the approach of the idealistic approach. And he says that reality is subjective. And therefore, we take a higher approach. We take the approach being higher than reality. Because in reality, it's very hard to know who's saying the truth. So here we have, as you see in the slide, a contradiction between Rabbi Shimon, which is the commentary that you see here on the left, and the Maimonides that takes more the approach of above the reality. He says it's a decree that we trust witnesses. So how do we learn the concept of witnesses, and how do we learn the concept of life in general? Should we live more of a realistic life, or should we live more of an idealistic life? So we might be able to answer this question if we take a step back. Let's ask the question as follows. Is reality an illusion? It might be a ridiculous question to ask, is reality an illusion? However, think about it for a moment. You're sitting on a jury, which some of you might have done. And you hear two sides of one story. One of the sides is for sure lying, because it's impossible that they're both 100% correct. Because each side comes with details, each side comes with many proofs, each side will emphasize their truth, and the other side will emphasize their truth. One side will be missing information, and the other side might also be missing information. Each side has some truth, but also some lies. Like we know where it says beyond reasonable doubt. It's impossible that every side is saying the complete truth. And therefore, to be completely objective is impossible. So for a jury to come with the absolute truth looks impossible. And therefore we have the question from before. Maybe there's a verse in the Torah that could teach us clearly how to do this. But when we look in the Torah, we see contradiction in different verses about reality. Look at this verse in text number 6a. The Torah says, you have been shown in order to know that the Lord, he is God. There is none else besides him. There's nothing besides him. Not your house, not your car, not your family, not your job. There's nothing besides him. Nothing exists. The verse is telling you that the Jewish people saw the proof of God. And then it tells us even further here in text number 6b that nothing exists besides him. And the Rambam explains what the verse is trying to tell us. The verse is trying to teach us nothing exists besides him. Hashem's exclusivity, he's exclusive. There's nothing else besides him. You're in a room, it's just you. He's an exclusive existence. Not only there's no other God, God forbid, but the entire existence really doesn't exist. There's nothing besides him. You might see men, women walking around. You might see mountains, houses, streets, cars, animals, fields. They look real, but really they're not. Because the only thing that exists is Hashem. But how could it be?
Rabbi Mann, can I ask a question? If that's
Sure.
okay. So I can't remember where I read this, but was it the only women were not allowed to be witnesses and slaves? Was that was that Hashem that decided that, or was that the rabbis? I know Maimonides said it was because it was masculine tense, but women could not witness anything, or slaves, right? It was just men. Is that
First
kind
of
of?
all,
Yeah.
men could be and women could be witnesses in many circumstances in the Torah. The women could be witnesses to many different cases. And slaves, there are also cases when it's called a maid. In the Torah, it's called an Amma Ha'ivriya. They're absolutely able to be slaves, but and also their master has to give them a husband, and they have children. The only unfortunate thing is that the children belong to the master. But yes, they could absolutely be slaves if they owe a debt, then they sell themselves as a slave to be able to pay up their debt. So yes.
It was codified what women could be witnesses for and what they can't, or was it up
Yes.
to?
The Maimonides discusses different cases, especially for a woman that's missing her husband, and two women or even one woman come and says that I saw your husband dead, and I know whatever the situation was, or she was in a different town and there was a funeral and everybody said it's this and this man, and they go to the court, so they trust a woman for that because they don't want the woman to be left an aguna without being able to remarry. Because if her husband's missing, she's not allowed to remarry unless she gets a divorce from him. So yes, there's several cases where we allow women to be witnesses.
Thank you.
Now, according to this, Hashem is the absolute existence. And everything else is an illusion, according to this Maimonides. Now think about it. I mean, it's an extreme statement. So let's discuss this for a moment. To say that everything is an illusion and it really doesn't exist. But wait a minute. Let's discuss this for a moment. There's a law in the Torah that you're not allowed to follow. You're not allowed to make witchcraft. Now, there's two types of witchcraft. One type is allowed and one type is forbidden. If you're just fooling somebody, let's say you play with the cards and you say, I had the card on the bottom, and then you show them it's on the top, or they come and do all kinds of tricks, but it's just an illusion. It's not reality. That's allowed. But if you are doing witchcraft that is real, which unfortunately it's actually mentioned in today's section of the Torah portion, where they take a bone from a dead body and they put it under their arm and the bone starts talking, that's forbidden because you're messing with the nature of God. That doesn't allow that to happen. But of course, Hashem allows witchcraft to give them the power, so there should be free choice. But the bottom line is, they would take, let's say, a lead and make it into gold. That's forbidden. But if the world's an illusion anyway, who cares if they switch lead to gold if the lead is fake anyway and the gold is fake? So who really cares if you're looking at the whole world that it's an illusion? So obviously there has to be some reality and some realness, so to speak, to this world. And by the way, if you put on tefillin this morning, or if you bench Shabbat candles, of course there's a reality to this world. Because if you're saying the world's fake, then that means you really didn't put on tefillin. And you can't say that. Well, let's understand this a minute. Look at this most famous text, text number 9. Text number 9. Basically, the first text of the entire Torah. Very simple. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. How can you say the heavens and the earth are an illusion? God created it. He created heaven and earth. The world was created by God. Before the creation, there was nothing, and now there's something. Something changed. Before there was no world, and now there's a world. How could you say that the only existence is God? If something happened and he created a world. So how are we supposed to look at this world that was created? How are we supposed to pay attention to the creation of the world if you're saying that the world's an illusion? What's the bottom line? So here is the point. We only see the physical. Look around you. What do you see? You see walls. What do you look up? You see the light. You look down, you see a floor. You look out the window, you see cars. You see the dark, you see the sun, you see the moon. You see things. You see real mountains. You see a real farm. You see real people. You see real animals. You see that real person that annoyed you today. You see real things going on around you. It's not an illusion, but there's another layer beneath what you are seeing, and that's God himself. Let me give you an example. You're sitting at a theater, whether at home or at the theater. You're watching a movie. What do you see? Pictures. Pictures of people, pictures of animals, pictures of items. It's a real picture that you are seeing. It's not a live person, but it's a real picture. Now, what's behind this picture? A strong light that creates this picture. If the light goes out, there's no more pictures. The picture is real, but it's only real because there's a light behind it. If the light stops, the picture stops. So the light makes the picture to a reality. God makes the world to a reality. The minute, God forbid, he stops creating the world, this world will cease to exist. As the Alter Rebbe explains here in length in chapter 10 of Time. Lengthy discussion. The world is real. Creatures, creations are real, but they're not in existence of their own, like the picture in the movie. It exists through the light. Your light in your house is only existing because there's a power plant. The minute the power plant stops, if there's a storm, you don't have light anymore. Is your light real? Yes. Could it cease to exist? Yes. The power plant, by the way, could also cease to exist, but God cannot. There is a layer beneath what you see, and that's the truth. They're both truthful. One is more truthful than the other. The world is not a real existence, because the minute Hashem decides to stop existing, it will stop to exist. Think of it. If I'm holding this stick up in the air, it's not really in the air. It doesn't float. The minute I let go, it's going to fall. Is it really in the air now? Yes. But it's an illusion, because the minute I let it go, it's going to fall. So it's not really in the air. So now that we know the ultimate truth, now that we understand what the truth is, the question is, how could you tap into this? How could we tap into the divine reality? How do we tap into this? The truth is something we can't see. How are we supposed to tap into this truth? Here comes a statement written in the Talmud. The heaven and earth in the year 2448, 2,448 years from the creation of the world, God gave the Torah. The world, the heaven and the earth were scared. Are the Jewish people going to receive the Torah or not? If not, God said, I will destroy the entire world. The world got nervous. Are the Jewish people going to accept it or not? Why is it so important? Because the purpose of the creation of the world is for the Torah. That's the purpose of the creation of the world, in order for us to keep the Torah. God wanted to make this world a dwelling place for himself, in the low of lows, the lowest place. When you keep the Torah and the mitzvot, you go into a deeper godly power. The purpose of the creation is that us in the physical world should keep Torah and mitzvot. And if the entire truth of the world is divine, that there's something deep inside. So to live a life aligned with a godly energy, then you're aligned with godliness. So the purpose is to connect with God, with this undercovered truth. The world is screaming and begging us to uncover the truth. The world's created in a way where it could adapt to the will of Hashem. You know, pick an example. You have a smartphone, okay? Your smartphone could be used to hold down your papers if it's windy. Your smartphone could be used for many other things. But if you don't use it to make phone calls or surf the internet or check your emails or send text messages, then you're not really fulfilling the purpose of the cell phone. You're not going to spend $500, $600 on a phone if you're not going to be utilizing it for what its purpose is. This teaches us a very powerful lesson. It teaches us as follows. When we are faced with opposition to keep the Torah and the mitzvot, it's not true. The world is inherently created in a way that it realizes its own purpose, its inner reality. So if someone or something stops you from keeping Torah and mitzvot, it's only an illusion and a test. Don't get fooled. Remember that the world's on your side. And all the obstacles you have is an illusion. God is testing you to see how strong you are and how much strength you have to keep the truth. Stay focused to do your duties, and then you will be successful. Do not get sad. Do not give up if there's obstacles. They're only an illusion. It's not real. When Abraham was going to kill his son on the altar, all of a sudden he saw a river in front of him. The bad angel created a river as an illusion. And Abraham kept on walking and the river disappeared. It wasn't real. We mentioned before about witnesses, that there's different opinions that say we trust witnesses because it's a divine decree, or we trust them because it makes sense. Well, we are all witnesses, every one of us. Wait a minute. Why would God need witnesses to prove that the world is existing by God? Well, witnesses is on something that no one could see. So if two witnesses see Reuben killing Shimon, they have to come running to say witness because the court does not know about it. If everyone knows about it, there's no reason to come say witness. Which truth are we trying to reveal? Well, the world on its own is convinced and tries to convince us not to keep the Torah. Just talk to your neighbor. Just turn on the news. Just go to social media. There's not much godliness going on there, unless, of course, you tuned into a Torah class, or if you log on to Chabad.org or any other holy places. God made us witnesses to uncover something. What does a witness do? It uncovers the truth. It tells the court something they didn't know. We are charged with a mission to change the world and to reveal the godliness of the world. A Jew reveals the truth of the world. Its true DNA is Torah and mitzvot. When a Jew keeps Torah and mitzvot with a full heart, when you search the truth, when you're in Kentucky and you're buying food and you look and search for the kosher symbol, you are actually uncovering the truth of the world, which is the godliness of the world. When you bring into your home, when you bring holiness inside your own personal home, when you're bringing godliness into your job, when you're bringing godliness into your family, when you're kind to your neighbor, when you call a friend that needs help, you are uncovering the truth of the world. Today, we don't see this godly spark. Today, when we do a good deed, we don't see the energy that we are creating, although we are. We don't see the electric power source. We just see the light in our house. It doesn't mean it's not truthful. Very soon, we're going to complete making the whole world for a dwelling place for Hashem. Soon we're going to see with our eyes the purpose of the creation. Soon we're going to see the godly energy that's in all the physical world. We are developing the ultimate goal, which is going to be by the coming of Mashiach. And here is the most powerful verse from our prophet Yeshaya, and he says as follows. He tells us the future. In the future, we're going to reveal godliness. When we fulfill the purpose, the whole world is going to see the purpose of the suffering of the 2,000 years in exile. Only to uncover the ultimate truth, which is uncovering the godliness, which is going to be by the coming of Mashiach. We do it already today by keeping the Torah and the mitzvot, but it's still not revealed yet. When it's every time you do a mitzvah today, you're kind to someone, you put on tefillin, you do something nice, you are creating this energy. You are creating divine energy into this world, but you can't see it. We're bringing more and more and more energy down into the world. When Mashiach comes, you will see all the work that you have done. It's like you're putting money in the bank, but you can't see it, you can't take it, can't reveal it. Ultimately, we will be able to uncover the ultimate truth, which is the revelation, and the ultimate, we will be able to uncover that everything we did was to uncover the truth and uncover that everything is really godliness. So next time you have an obstacle in front of you that's not allowing you to do the right thing, realize it's just Hashem testing you. And he's trying to make you stronger to be able to challenge all your tests and reveal the truth that the world is here to help us. And by the way, as years go on, more and more we see that not only is the world, but the non-Jews and the nations of the world are here more and more to help us and encourage us, especially this country, a country of kindness that allows us to be able to bring out more and more of the ultimate goal of the revelation of godliness into this world. So ultimately, should you be realistic or idealistic, you should dream. And of course, many situations in life, you need to be more on a higher level where you're not so realistic, but you're behaving in a much more level where you trust in Hashem that he's going to ultimately uncover the ultimate truth. It's great to see you all. Have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yosef. It's great to see you.
What wisdom. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Love that about obstacles and, not making excuses.
That's right. Excuses are unlimited. There's many excuses. There's more excuses not to put on tefillin than there is to put it on. There's more excuses not to pray today than there is to do
My
it.
favorite excuse is that it's Shabbos.
Yes, right.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, Hilda, it's great to see you.
Thank you,
Thank-
Rabbi Man.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Rabbi. Bye.
take care, Steve. All the best.
Look forward to the next class.
Yes, get well soon. Great to see you both. Take care.
Thank you.
You
Thank you
too.
for bringing us higher.
I can't see the kids.
They're still in the bathtub.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I want to see them in the bathtub or whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, they behaved very good through the class, so I was happy.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Rabbi.
great to see you all. Take
Good to
care.
see you. We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Bye.